Alright, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Eddy. This is a character who I think most people probably struggle with quite a bit. One, he's a DLC character. Two, he has a lot of very ambiguous animations where it's hard to tell what he's doing. So hopefully, at least, this helps a little bit. But let's just get into it. A lot of this video is going to be mostly about his strings and stuff because he does have really crazy string offense. Not that it's good, but that just he has a lot of strings. So yeah, let's just get into it. Alright, first things first, let's do an overview of Eddy. This is a character who has a high risk, medium reward playstyle where he's basically always gambling his life. This is offset by the fact that no one really knows what Eddy does. So he has moves like this. This is minus 18 on block. It is a launcher and it has okay range and decent tracking. It tracks his weak side. That's minus 18 on block. He has while standing 1-3. This is a 13 frame launcher. Minus 15 on block. When he is in his stances, he has this hell sweep. This hell sweep doesn't clean hit. It's minus 13 on block. We'll talk about this a little bit later. It is very hard to get that to clean hit. So, super risky stuff. In his handstand, basically if he's ever on minus frames and tries to press, you can just float him here. But even beyond that, he has no lows out of handstand without his install. So it's pretty tough for him to get you to actually duck here. And even with his install, the low isn't very threatening. So, it's not the best time for him. Beyond that, he also has a lot of string mix-ups and a lot of just like weird jumping mix-ups. Like he has his up 3, which can be mixed with up 4-4 and up 4-3. This isn't a real mix-up, but he can use those. He has stuff like this, which is a mid string, and then he can mix that with this low. Those come out at the same speed, but again, if you guess right, he's risking his life every single time. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff like that. He has this string here. You saw a little bit of the counterplay there where you can step it. But yeah, if you know the counterplay of that string, he risks his life. And there's a lot of stuff. That's basically Eddy's entire MO, is that if you don't know what he does, all these mix-ups are really scary. If you do know what he does, you can just block and Eddy will die eventually. Not only that, I think literally all of his lows are super punishable. This is minus 14. This is minus 14. This is minus 16. Not a lot of people know that that's a launch punish, and a lot of people don't try to launch it because it does have a follow-up. It's minus 16. This low is minus 12, but that might literally be the only one. Oh no, he has this, but this low has no range. So, it's not the best time. Besides that, he has this, minus 21. You get a float punish there. He has... What else does he have? Oh, he has his hell sweep, minus 26. He has this hell sweep, minus 24. This guy is always taking massive risks. So yeah, like step one against Eddy is to just kind of block, but there are more defensively oriented Eddys who do have good fundamentals, and these Eddys are going to be pretty scary to play against. Eddy has a pretty good backdash. I haven't done a Korean backdash in a while because I'm on a new controller. But Eddy has a decent backdash. He doesn't have like the best side set, but he has okay sideways movement, especially once you start considering these stances. This transition can like crush mids and evade mids. It's very, very good. And then Eddy has some pretty good defensive tools. Side step 3+4. This is a pretty good whip punisher. It is safe. It is a high, but it's a very good keep out tool, very good whip punisher. For punishment, he has decent frames here. +7 into stance, +7 into stance. He can wall splat on 13. He can wall splat and get an install on 14. Good stuff there. On 15, he has a launcher. From full crouch, he can launch you on 13. He gets good frames on 14, and he has another launcher on 15 if he wants some more damage here. So He has good stuff defensively, especially the transitions here. It is very difficult to actually lock down an Eddy if he's just going to sit here and keep going in and out of stance. It's very, very difficult to actually lock this character down. In terms of his tracking, in the neutral, you want to step left. He doesn't really have ways of generating frames in the neutral. He can basically only really generate frames from stance. But in the neutral, step left is pretty good. His jab also is pretty bad range. His back one is basically homing. You can't step this. And his down forward 3, which is launch punishable, this will track you. But in general, he has a pretty hard time actually tracking you if you go left. Like, this is pretty rare. And that's in the neutral. So when he is in his handstand stance, step right in general is going to be a little bit better. But you can also just block because he has no lows out of that stance. So step right is pretty good against handstand. So you can see here, like, we're evading quite a few things on +6. And +6 is pretty good. He's either entering on +6 or on +8, and on +8 you basically can't step at anything, but just backdashing or stepping right against handstand is pretty good. And then in his relaxed stance, you basically just want to backdash, and that is going to beat literally everything outside of 2 scenarios that we'll talk about a little bit later. So yeah, this is a very high counterplay, very high risk, high reward character. The thing that's scary about Eddy is that he is very ambiguous in animations, and Eddy players don't have a back button. They have forward to the right and forward to the left. So because they refuse to block, it's generally going to be very hard to play against Eddy, again, if you don't know what he's doing. But we'll show you what he's doing, and you'll see that's not that scary. So for the first pro, we're going to talk about Eddy's punishment because his punishment in general is pretty good. This is definitely a character who has pretty good defensive utility. So let's set Jin to not block. On 10 frames, we have a 1-2 forward, +6 in the handstand. It's not bad. On +6, you can still step quite a bit of things, so that's generally going to be his worst 10 frame punish. His other 10 frame punish is 1-3. Which is 21 damage +7 into relaxed, so good stuff. Also, relaxed and negativa are the same stance. I might call it different things, but I'm talking about the same thing. On 12 frames, he has 2-3, +8 into handstand, good stuff. On +8, the tracking is quite a bit stronger, so it's harder for you to get away from it. So definitely try not to use -12s against Eddy that much. On 13, we have down forward 1-3. Just wall squats. Good stuff. On 14, we have up forward 1-3, which wall splats and gives an install. Cool. And we have up forward 1-4, which heat engages. Notably, this does not give a heat dash launch. It's just a heat dash with guaranteed follow-up. Also, if you do heat engage here, you do get a stack, which is really nice. So at least the first time they do a -14, you never have to choose if you want stacks or not. You're always getting a stack. Finally, on 15, we have a down forward 3. Notably, this is -18 on block. So if an Eddy ever uses this and you block it, you could always blow him up for this. So just make sure that you're ready for that. And for whiff punishment, we have side step 3+4. This doesn't have the greatest range, but this is a safe launcher that is pretty evasive. So good stuff there. From while standing, we have while standing 4-4. This also has a follow-up, but this follow-up is very bad. We'll talk about it later in the strength section, but do not ever let Eddy get away with that follow-up. Just in general, while standing 4-4, +8, 23 damage. It's good stuff. No one's complaining about that. On 13, he actually has a launcher. While standing 1-3 is a full launch on -13, which is great. You can also wall splat you with while standing 1-4. Very, very potent 13 frame punish. And on 15, we have wall standing 2. Notably, this is also launch on block. This is -18. Wall standing 1-3 is -15, so keep that in mind as well. But yeah, this is -18. So if he wants to launch something like a hell sweep, or if he wants to run a full crouch mix, which his full crouch game is good. If he wants to run like a launcher from full crouch, he has to use a while standing 3, which is minus 13. It's not the best scenario for Eddy to be in, but yeah, so his punishment is good. His punishment is very risky if he's wrong, but it's good punishment. The only other pro we're going to talk about with Eddy, because in all honesty, I think this character is pretty exceptionally weak, is that he has very strong mix-up utility combined with very strong knowledge checks. In the sense that if you don't know what this character does, it can feel like there's literally nothing that you can do once he gets the blender going. And, you know, that's for a reason. That's kind of how he was designed. He was designed to be, like, the ultimate casino character. You know, we have knowledge check characters like Zafina, or like Leo, but those characters don't actually have, like, ultra strong 50-50s. You know, there are usually pretty decent option selects that you can do to get away from certain things. So Zafina's Scarecrow stance, sidestep right duck, is very, very good against that. That's going to beat out a lot of the options. Eddy does not have this... I'm not going to say he doesn't have this much counterplay, but he relies even more on knowledge checks, meaning that if you know what this character does, he doesn't feel anywhere near as strong. But if you don't know what this character does, he feels broken to play against. So let's just show some of the things that I'm talking about. Everyone knows about the 3-3-3 string. You can sidewalk left to get out of it once he's in handstand. You can also crouch jab to beat most of the handstand options, but on -3 anyways. But yeah, you can sidewalk left to get away from this and just blow him up for it. You can also duck. Once he's in handstand, you duck the second hit. If you don't, then you just kind of have to sit there and block, because what happens is he will be here. And he'll be in relaxed. The issue with that is that, yeah, you can jab him and beat everything because he's -5, but when he's in relaxed, he can go into handstand again. So, depending on the way you try to do your punish, you can actually just whiff here. So let me actually show you what I mean. So a stronger Eddy, not necessarily a good Eddy, because believe me, Eddy players are something else. But a stronger Eddy will do something like this, where you try to take your turn back because you know he's a minus, and now you're blown up. He's not going to get a punish here, but he can just totally evade this. So if you try to do like Jin's down forward 1-4 or something, or down forward 1-3, I don't know exactly what the string is, you can just die here, which is very annoying. And, you know, so this is just another layer of the knowledge check. He has all these strings where this is a 50-50. You know, he has a low that comes out at the same speed as a mid. Neither of the options are very good in my opinion, but if you don't know what's happening, you might just die to that, right? Then he has stuff like this, which this is kind of the same string. Again, if you don't know, you'll just die to it. He has this string here. You don't know the counterplay, you'll just die to it. And there's a lot of situations like that where you're just going to get kind of blown up and you're not going to really know what's happening. It's not to say he doesn't have good buttons. He has very strong, again, you know, his 50-50 utility is very good. Like from full crouch here, this is a +6 on block mid, +9 on hit, that you can 50-50 with a +9 on hit up. Now this low is launch punishable, but because he's in the handstand, you're only ever getting a float punch, right? So it's not a good scenario to be in, even blocking here, because like this is a real 50-50. Like this situation sucks. So yeah, very good mix-up utility. And again, just, you know, once he's in handstand and once he has his stacks, in general, you're probably going to be like below half health once he has his stacks, because his stacks reset every single round. But this is the character who, like, this 50-50 gets really toxic once you're here. Like, look at this. Knockdown low, which this is not launch punishable. This is -13. Which he 50-50s with the +7 on block mid launcher. It's pretty insane stuff. So yeah, this character for sure has good stuff in terms of their mix-up utility. And I think the fact that no one plays this character, and in general, Eddy players hate blocking, it makes it very difficult to know what's even happening in this matchup, which I think it gives Eddy a lot of utility in ranked and in first or two settings. Alright, so now let's get into the weaknesses, and there are quite a few. First, Eddy is a character that takes a lot of risks. Like, it's bad. So there are a lot of, I already showed a couple of the strings. Again, once we get into the string section in particular, you'll see exactly how rough these strings are. This is one where this is kind of confirmable. This is a Twitch confirmable counter hit launcher. You don't have a ton of time to confirm this, but stronger players are gonna be able to confirm it. If Eddy's wrong, this is minus 15 on block. Eddy's wall standing 3, minus 15 on block. Eddy's wall standing 2, minus 18 on block. Eddy is down forward 3, minus 18 on block. A lot of his punishment is extremely risky. This move, minus 21 on block, full crouch down forward 4. Super risky to go for. Basically, all of his lows are minus 14. Yeah, like this one is minus 16 because it has a follow-up. Eddy players just rip this all the time. I've never seen someone launch it because there is technically a follow-up, but there are a lot of Eddy players who just, they'll send this just over and over again. It's a minus 5 on hit, minus 16 on block. You can launch this. I've never seen anyone launch that. Super high risk moves. And then again, a lot of these mix-ups, this low is launch. It's not good. He takes a lot of risks whenever he presses a button, and once you're aware of what those risks actually are. So yeah, it definitely feels like every time you guess right, you get 80 damage, and every time Eddy guesses right, he gets to like 30, and it's not good for him because he is risking his life so often. It's really rough to be an Eddy player who's like trying to play solid, because man, every time someone ducks, if they're Jin or Jun or Lee who has a 14 frame launcher, every time they duck, you're just dead. Next, we're going to talk about Eddy's tracking. In general, his tracking is not very good. Part of this is because he doesn't have access to like crazy plus frames outside of stance. I don't actually know if he can generate plus frames outside of stance. Pretty much his entire kit is like go into stance ultra plus, but outside of stance, like if he's not punishing you, it's basically just jab. And after jab, like sidewalk left is pretty good. This launcher will tag you, but like I don't think Eddy should be checking you with a minus 18 launcher. The side step 3+4 will tag you, which is good, but you can see quite a few moves are missing here. The back one has a very good tracking. This move is basically, I don't think that any character can step it. So that move has great tracking. But you can see, like, this is not great tracking. Like, this is pretty... So yeah, not the best character in terms of his tracking. His tracking is pretty bad, especially if you're stepping left. If you step to the right, you mainly do this if you're looking for certain moves. But if you step right, then you're also evading a lot of stuff here. So it's not great to be an Eddy player. His kit is very linear in general. In general, step left seems to be a little bit better than step right, but you can kind of just step in whatever direction you want, and you're going to be evading quite a few things. The last con is that he looks kind of dumb. Just kidding, that's toxic. The actual weakness is that Eddy has a very hard time getting you to duck from handstand, and the only way for him to get you to duck is by getting his install. This means that if you know which moves he's using to get install, you never have to duck handstand. And the reason why you don't have to duck handstand is without install, he has no lows. So he has this plus on block mid, he has this mid, he has this mid, he has, you know, the 3-3 stuff, he has that, then he has a backswing blow. None of those are lows. Now he gets a low with install, but the main ways he's getting install are with his 14 frame punish. So like that's one of the main ways, and from the hell sweep from Negativa. So if you're looking out for those, I don't know how he ever gets you to duck. It's pretty rough actually. So I have Eddy on the other side just to illustrate one of the issues with that he has getting his install. The hell sweep from Negativa requires clean hit to knock down. Not only that, if your character has a reasonable backdash, it's actually very easy to just backdash and avoid the clean hit, and then this happens, where he's a -13, because it's not a natural if it doesn't clean hit. So you get a punish here if you do backdash, right? So that's really bad, and that's one of his key ways of getting his install. So if your character has a good backdash, every single time he goes into handstand, or if he goes into Negativa, you can just backdash and you never have to hold the low and you get a punish. If he can't get stacks, he can't mix you up from handstand, which is really, really bad. So yeah, I think that him not having any lows without install is very rough for this character. With all of that being said, let's start talking about his stances. We're going to start with handstand. This is just the easiest one to discuss first. On +6, which he gets from 1-2 forward, you have a little bit of counterplay. Any other time he hits you, you're either getting launched or he's +8 in the stance. In which case, you basically just have to sit there and block unless you have a hard read on the one option, which, you know, is fine. Again, because he has no lows without install, you never have a reason to duck this, you know, until he shows you the install, but that's just the counterplay here. He can also feint into this stance, and it's important to know that just because his feints are usually very punishable. So he has handstand 2-3 forward is -8 on hit. He has 4-4-3 +4 neutral forward. That's just an empty transition. He has up 1-3 forward, -12 on hit. Back 4-4 forward, -18 on hit. Up 4-3 forward, -12 on hit. Not very good. So yeah, his walls running 3 is pretty plus as well. Yeah, it's +8. So that's the only move that's +8 on block. Every other move is +6 if it's the 1-2, or it's a feint, in which case he's very minus, or it's +8, in which case you have to sit there and block. So that's pretty much it. Not going to show you all the transitions, but those are the 3 situations you need to think about, and when we talk about the counterplay, I'll show you what that actually looks like. Now, in terms of his options, he has 1. This is a 23 frame mid that goes into relaxed at +6 on block or +8 on hit. At +6 on block, spoiler alert, you have to guess. Not a whole lot you can do about it. We have 2-3. This is a mid that gives a stack of install. It is a -13 on block. If he cancels it, he is launch punishable even if the first hit connects. So I already showed you this. Yeah, that's launch. If he does anything, well, I guess it's not launch because he can armor. If he does anything besides armor, he's launched there. So cool. Beyond that, we have the 3-3 string. None of this jails, so if you block the first hit, which you should always be blocking the first hit, again, unless he has install, you can duck and launch after the 3rd hit. If you don't think he's going to finish it, you can duck and launch after the 2nd hit. Just be careful about doing that. Next, we have the 4 option. This is a mid that is plus 10 on hit, minus 1 on block if he goes into stance. Good stuff. He has 4-2. This is a wall splatting mid. And he has a feint with 4-2-3. This is hard to react to, but you can actually sidewalk that on reaction. You do have to sidewalk right in order to get away from it, but you can technically sidewalk that on reaction. Next, we have the 1+2. This is a armored mid that is only minus 12 on block, which is pretty good for armor. Also, it guarantees it's a heat engager. So, it's pretty good stuff. You can definitely do a lot worse than that. Next, we have back 3. This is a backswing blow. It wall splats. Extremely reactable. You can sidewalk this right and launch him for it. Otherwise, minus 12 on block. If he has his install, then he has back 4. This is a launcher with 2 stacks and a knockdown mid with 1 stack. This is plus 7 on block and stays in stance. Really, really strong move. Well, kind of. Then he has his install 3+4. This is a knockdown low if he has 2 stacks, and with 1 stack, it is a low that is plus 3 on hit. That doesn't go in any stance or anything. So, yeah, it is not bad. Also, if he has 2 stacks, he will launch any lows that you do, so don't use any lows here. In terms of the counterplay, on +6, you can sidewalk right, and you evade some of the stronger options. So, you evade the 1 completely, still get hit by the 2. You always get hit by the 2 is homing. You evade the armor. You evade the second hit of the 3-3-3 string, so you can duck and launch the 3rd hit, because most Eddies aren't going to have the wherewithal to stop doing the string because the first one's going to hit. So just be aware of that. And basically, regardless of the frame data, you can always evade the back 4 option. You can set that to both the directions. So yeah, you will get hit by everything else, but there's quite a few things that you can evade by stepping right on +6. On a +8, the only thing that you are stepping is the 1 option and back 4. Everything else is hitting you. So you kind of just want to block it. Alternatively, you can backdash here, because if you backdash, you evade the first hit of the low, in which case you can just punish it. Jin can't, because of the Proximo settings, he's not able to backdash block. You can backdash block in a real game. So if you backdash block, that's -13, which again means you never have to duck this stance, even if he has his install. So there is just never a reason to duck. Now, if he transitions on minus frames, he can always try to check you with the mid here, because this mid is so fast. So if I have it set to standing block, on -3, like, this will check a lot of moves. So technically you have 14 frames to interrupt here, unless he does an armor, of course. The issue is that he can also go into relaxed here. So if you try to do like a down forward 1 or something, it's actually pretty likely that he's going to be able to evade it. So I'll have Jin do his down forward 1. Yeah, so Eddy can't like launch this. He can't even really punish this, but just be aware of that if you do like a down forward 1, then Eddy is going to be able to get away from this. Again, he's not going to be able to launch it. He can't even really punish it, so that doesn't matter as much, but just keep that in mind. The only other thing really worth talking about is that if you do have a mid with really good tracking, so Lily's down forward 4-4 it's not literally homing, but very few characters get away from it. Eddy has a very hard time dealing with it, because he needs to roll to Lily's strong side to evade the first hit, and then block. And we all know how Eddy players feel about blocking. So yeah, if you're playing a character like Lily, just use down forward 4-4. Literally every single time Eddy goes into handstand on minus frames, and you'll be fine. But for everyone else, just if you have a fast homing move, consider using it, especially if it's a mid. Not that many characters have fast homing mids, but you know, Nina can use her back 2-2, Dragunov can use his back 3. those are moves you can use to check here, and if he doesn't roll, then he just gets blown up for it. Otherwise, fast homing mids, or just fast mids with good tracking in general, are going to be your best bet here. Up next, let's talk about Negativa. Now, the way the stance works is that Eddy basically only gets in on like crazy plus frames or on kind of minus frames. He's never really punishable going into the stance, but even on his plus frames, there's still a decent amount of counterplays you can do. At least in terms of like backdashing. You can't really ever step this unless you're hard calling out one move on very particular frames, but he can very easily get into the stance plus on, like very easy. Or, you know, plus on hit here. His 10 frame punish can get in here as well. So, yeah. He's basically only getting in on, like, plus frames or on kind of minus frames. And on kind of minus frames, you just want to check him with mids. So, trust me, it's very obvious when he's plus. I'm going to link the Reddit post that's going to have all of the frame data written out in the description. But, trust me, it's very obvious when he's plus. This is very obviously plus on block. That's very obviously plus on block. Right? This is very obviously plus on. So, yeah, it's very obvious when he's plus going into this stance. In terms of the options, we have the 1. This is a 17 frame low. That's 0-1 hit, minus 11 on block. You can add this 3 here. The 3 is guaranteed on counter hit, and the 3 is a counter hit launcher. So, if we do this, that's a counter hit launcher. Cool. And it is minus 14 on block. The whole thing is guaranteed if the first hit counter hits. In which case he's plus 5 back in stance. Next, we have the 2. This is just a mid. So he has 2-4. This is a mid-high that goes back into relaxed at plus 3. You can always duck the second hit. And there is no mix-up. He can do this mid that's a follow-up. 32 frames. You can always duck and launch this. If you don't duck for whatever reason, it's minus 14 on block. Next, we have the 1+2. This is just a relatively long-range shoulder. Minus 8 on block. It looks like it'll be plus. It's actually minus. We have 3+4. This is a launcher. Minus 18 on block. 3 is the Hell Sweep. This is only a natural on clean hit, and it will give him a stack of his install on clean hit. This is 16 frames. And finally, for the 4, we have just this mid. His 4-3 is a mid-mid. Notably, it's minus 13 on block. I didn't know that was punishable. That doesn't look like a move that would be punishable in my opinion. Cool. So in terms of the counterplay, you never want to sidestep this stance. You can technically sidewalk the shoulder to the left. That is the only move that you can step to either direction on plus frames. Every other move is going to track you regardless of what direction you step to. It's not worth stepping the stance. However, with that being said, backdashing is very good here. So Jin's backdash is notoriously bad. So I'm actually going to switch to Kazuya very quickly. He just has, you know, a relatively normal backdash. Just to show you what the counterplay looks like. If you are a Jin player, my bad. The matchup gets quite a bit harder. But as you can see, even after his 10 frame, 1 backdash means that this doesn't clean hit anymore. That makes this really bad for Eddy. Not only that, if he does his full crouch down forward 3, this also doesn't clean hit. Now, there are a couple of situations where you're going to get clean hit no matter what. So 4-4-3, you're always getting clean hit here. No character can backdash this, at least I don't think. And then this is always going to clean hit. The issue is that, or I guess the upside, is that on this +5, crouch jab beats literally the entire stance. So I will have Kazuya set to crouch jab here, and you'll see that there is nothing Eddy can do to beat crouch jab. Now, he does have an option that will trade with it, and then he'll get frames, but that's basically all he's ever getting. So that gets beat. The 2 option gets beat. The 1+2 option gets beat. The launcher gets floated. You beat the Hell Sweep, and you trade with the mid. Eddy is plus 10, so if your back is against the wall, I believe Eddy can get a 1-3 and reset the situation. But crouch jab is huge on plus 5. On plus 6, unfortunately, you have to take a guess. There's just nothing you can really do to get away from that. Maybe Yoshi can like crouch cancel flash or something like that, or maybe he can just flash from crouch. I don't actually know. But yeah, you have to take a guess there, which is very unfortunate. Otherwise, if he transitions on minus frames, you can just check him with a mid with good tracking. Again, it's going to be the same situation as the handstand transitioning on minus frames. Just check him with a fast mid with good tracking, and you'll be good to go. Finally, let's go over his strings. He has a million of them, so this section is going to be pretty long, but it is worth going over his strings because they basically all have quite a bit of counterplay. So first, we have his 1-2 series. There is no mix-up here. While he can go into handstand, so he can do 1-2 forward to go into handstand, every other follow-up is a high. So he has 1-2-3, this is a high. He has a 1-2-4-3, this is a low, which again, you just duck that. Then he has 1-2-4-4, which is a high. Yep, you just duck there every single time, and that's pretty much it. If you think he's gonna empty transition, then he is technically plus here, so just be careful. But Eddies don't normally do that. They normally press the button, so I would just duck there every single time. Next, we have 4-4. This is a safe mid-mid heat engager. You want to side step right, not side walk. If you side walk, you will get clipped by either. You want to explicitly side step it, and then you can watch this. Every single character, even the characters with better steps, they can always just step right here. Side step right every single time. You'll be good to go. Next, let's talk about the back 1 and forward 4 series. These are basically the same string. Well, not basically. They are the same string. They just have a different starter. So let's get into it. First, we have forward 4-3. This is a -13 on block. This is a mid-mid. This can be mixed with forward 4 3+4, which is a hell sweep, knockdown, guaranteed follow-up, launch punishable on block. If he finishes the forward 4-3 series, which is forward 4-3 3+4, it's -12. However, what you can do is you can sidewalk left after the second hit, and this is what it will look like. So you will get clipped by the first hit of the third hit, which is weird to say. You will get clipped by the third hit of this string, but you will be +10 at Eddy's back. I am going to have Eddy on the other side, and then I am going to have him block after he does the string. So let me set that up for you and show you what it looks like. Okay, so now I have Eddy set up to do this string and then block. So just to show you that he is in fact blocking, you can see I have him holding back afterwards, right? So this is a launch. This is a punish. Because of how long it takes him to turn around, you get a punish here. So really good stuff. The issue is that not every character can actually launch this. So Lily, for instance, she needs to use 3-1 here because her hop kick and her down forward 2 will both whiff. So yeah, depending on your character, you need to lab your character specific punish for this situation. Just make sure that you know what's going on here. Dragunov, for instance, he also can't launch it, but he can back forward 3. So this is what Dragunov's punish is. So that's what Dragunov is. Yeah, he doesn't get anything else. If you see, if I down forward 2, it just whiffs. So yeah, make sure you lab your character specific punish for this move. It is very annoying to try to punish, but every character does have a punish. Just be aware that if whatever your unique punish for this is worse than your 12 frame, it's better to just block and do a 12 frame punish. Next, we have down forward 1-3. This is a mid-high. So yeah, you can just block this. You can duck and launch. Pretty simple stuff there. Next, we have his down 4. I already spoke about this a little bit earlier. This is -5 on hit, -16 on block if he just uses 1. Be on the lookout for that. You really don't want to let him get away with using this over and over again. This is not a good situation for Eddy to be in. Beyond that, if he finishes it, this is a -13 on block and leaves you in crouch. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure you're using your while standing punish for that, because if you try to use your standing punish, you might get a misinput and then get punished again. Up next, we have Eddy's down back 4-4. This is a mid-high natural hit combo. Notably, this does not jail, so you can duck and launch that second hit. That's basically it. Nothing super crazy there. Up next, let's talk about his down back 3+4, 4-3. If he doesn't finish this string, this is safe. Like, he can do the first 3 hits and they're all safe. If he does finish it, it's -14 with Eddy in your face. Make sure you get a good punish there. Next, we have a back 2 series. We have back 2-3. This is a mid-mid that's -11. We have back 2-3-3. This is an extremely slow mid follow-up that is a -14 on block. If you think they're going to finish the string, you can interrupt it with a 12-frame mid, and it's completely uncontested. Cool. Alternatively, he has back 2-4, which is a mid-high. So that is the mix-up there. Next, we have back 3-3. This is a Twitch confirmable counter hit launcher. If he doesn't confirm it, this is -15 on block. This is the same ender as while standing 1-1-3. So whenever you block either of these, -15 on block. Make sure you are punishing that. Next, we have a back 4-4-3. This is a high mid string. Cool. You can sidestep right and launch the last hit. So let's have Jin do that. Yeah, you can sidestep right and launch the last hit, which is super, super good. If he doesn't finish it, he's a -9 in your face, which, you know, not the best scenario for Eddy to be in, as I'm sure you can imagine. This string is the same thing as the while standing 4-4-3 string. Same ender. So once you see this backflip, once you need the backflip, you just want to step right, and then you can blow him up for it. Next, we have up 3, up 4-3 plank, and up 4-4 plank. This is reactable. 1, you can step all of them to the right on reaction. It is hard to do so. You can step all of them to the right, though. Second, if you want to try to block this, it is reactable. So up 3, he turns backwards, which is a mid. Up 4-3, he does a backflip, but you see he's facing forward the entire time. And up 4-4, this is not reactable at all, but this is a high. So if you are trying to react, then you actually will just always block this. So cool. But this is also a high. So whenever he jumps in the air, if he's facing forward, it's a high or it's a low. And if he's not facing forward, it's a mid. You just block. Next, we have up 2-4, or up 1-1-4, sorry. This is a mid-high heat engager to be used as a punish. If they're wrong on the punish, the second hit is a high, so you can duck it. Do note that this can be mixed with a mid that is -13 on block. Next, we have his up 3 series. This is up 3-3, or up 4-3-3. This is a mid that has a slight pause before the mid comes out, -18 on block. We also have up forward 3-4, which is a low. If you notice, there is no pause on the low, which means if you're locked in, this is not a 50-50. You can always react to the string. The low is -14 on block, and the mid is -50. You should never be getting hit by this. If you are getting hit by this, please lab this string. All right, and that's going to wrap it up for Eddy. I don't think his character is very good, to be completely honest. I think a lot of his win rate and a lot of his success comes from the fact that, 1, no one labs DLC characters, and 2, again, he has a lot of very ambiguous animations. So I think that in general, this is not a character that you should be scared of. You should lab this character, please. But yeah, I don't think this character is very good. His punishment is pretty good, and his casino, you know, it is a casino. But as you can see, just like backdashing away from it means that you basically never have to hold any stance mix-up. It's not good for Eddy if you know what this character does. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video. Next character I'm going to work on is Nina. Thanks guys for watching, and I will see you in the next one.